What's up, witches?
What's up, witches? I'm Linda,
And I'm John.
and this is Getting Witchy.
This is Getting Witchy Valentine's Day edition. So, which is part of the reason for the red. Oh, wait. Sorry. I always, this. Anyway, but this is also from Empire Strips Back that we did, what, like 3 months ago?
For my birthday.
Yeah, October.
Yeah.
A burlesque, basically, but based on Star Wars. We've talked about it before, but if you ever get it in your area, go to it. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, but it's red. Valentine's Day red. So, tonight, obviously, we're talking about Valentine's Day. I jokingly, carefully, because you have to be careful nowadays who you say things like this to, but happy VD Day. But it originated from a blend of ancient Roman, pagan, and Christian traditions, evolving from a very brutal fertility festival called Lupercalia, or also AKA the Ides of February. And don't forget the Ides of March is when Caesar was assassinated. But anyway, and the martyrdom of Saint Valentine in the 3rd century, which is another interesting thing. So, depending, multiple sources mentioned a Saint Valentine martyred in the 3rd century, around 278, 279 AD. And then some mention two of the same name, one from Turin in Italy, and then they didn't mention where the other one was from. But and I will skip over this later, but we're talking about it. But the Catholic Church identifies 3 Valentines that were put to death by Claudius. Is that the right Claudius? Yes,
I believe so.
Yes.
Claudius the second.
The second. 3, the Catholic Church recognizes. So anyway, so Claudius put a ban on marriages. That was the main thing. And it's Pope Gelasius.
Yes.
Is that correct? Pope Gelasius the First declared February the 14th Valentine's Day in 496 AD. Again, likely one of the Valentines put to death was a Roman priest. So they assume to recognize the Roman priest that was executed by Claudius the second for secretly marrying couples. So there's 2 storylines or 2 thoughts to this legend. One is that Claudius thought that a man with no ties, no wife, no children, even better, no, and they only hinted, some of the stuff that I found only hinted at this part, but even no parents, like an orphan. Oof. They are the best soldier. They have nothing that they're worried about back home. So he outlawed marriage. That sounds more feasible. The other legend says that he outlawed marriage in the Christian faith, like Christian marriage ceremonies. You couldn't be married as a Christian.
Well, I mean, there was a time that Christians actually were um
Martyred,
no, I'm not murdered, but
but they were
um
even into the early.
persecuted.
mm,
They
Well,
they
yeah,
they were not given the same rights that the
right,
Romans had.
right,
I mean, yes, that is true, but then they turned that around like 100-fold, and
right.
but
Um, so again, the romanticism of Valentine's Day didn't start until roughly the Middle Ages, like late 14, early 1500s, specifically with an author named Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. And we'll get into more of that in a minute. So with the martyrdom, um, did we already? Yeah, we kind of already talked about this because I talked about the two trains of thought or schools of thought on why Valentine was killed.
mhm.
Um, sorry, guys. Now, with both legends, as part of the ministry to the church, Saint Valentine's is said to have married Christian couples in secret, demonstrating his piety and respect for marriage as a Christian sacrament. Uh, but the only actual historically accurate part of Valentine's life is probably considered the most gruesome. It's his death. Um, he was beheaded. Well, first he was stoned, according to record, stoned, and then bludgeoned with clubs. And then when that didn't kill him, they beheaded him and then hastily buried him to try to hide him from his followers. But they found him and interred him and supposedly gave him a Christian burial. And that was on February 14th, 269.
Yes, 269 AD, also known as CE, because we don't really use
Yeah.
Anno Domini anymore. We
Anymore.
use Common Era.
Sorry, I'm old school.
Legend does claim though that Valentine, while imprisoned for defying the emperor, that he healed his jailer's blind daughter and wrote her a farewell note signed "Your Valentine," establishing the tradition of love notes and Valentines. Um, some also believe that the church placed Saint Valentine's feast day in mid-February to Christianize Lupercalia, which is a Roman festival of fertility and matchmaking. So from February 13th to the 15th, the Romans celebrated the feast of Lupercalia. Now, Lupercalia is derived from the Latin lupus, meaning wolf, and calidus, meaning hot.
It was
So
a fucking orgy.
hot wolf.
It was an orgy.
Feast.
It was May Day for a weekend.
Yeah, in late winter.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now the priests would sacrifice a goat and a dog to Faunus and other Roman fertility gods, and then they or the men of the city would whip the women
They would take
with the
strips
bloody strips of the hides of the animals they had just sacrificed. So they would cut the hides into strips and whip the women with the
with the
bloody
bloody
strips,
and they
of
believed
the
that
hides.
would create fertility.
Now the apparently the Roman romantics were drunk and
The men. the men participating.
Well,
This is what I
apparently
got from that.
naked,
Yeah, and Nate, yeah.
as noted by Noel Lenski, who is now a religious studies professor at Yale University. In a 2011 NPR interview that he did, the young women would line up for the men to hit them with these bloody strips of hide. I don't get it, but I mean,
That's a fascinating, though. I mean, I'm not saying I would want to participate, but I would not object to observing, just for historical, if it was possible to go back in time. I'd like, it's just weird.
I mean, by today's standards, sure.
Oh goodness.
Now this whole shenanigans going on also included a matchmaking lottery in which young men drew the names of women from a jar. You know what this reminds me of?
Mayday.
Yes, Mayday, but also
That's what I said
the
earlier.
Ice Storm. That's the movie I think I was thinking of last time. There's a movie, I believe it's called The Ice Storm with Tobey Maguire, where it's like in the 70s and there's this ice storm going on and the adults are having a party and they
Okay.
put their keys, like the men would put their keys in a bowl,
Okay.
and as they were leaving, the women would pull a set of keys, and whoever's keys they pulled, they went home with that night. So it's
Oh.
basically a swingers party before the upside down pineapples.
Okay, what does this have?
Because that's kind of what this reminds me of.
Well,
They're drawing women's names out of the
yeah,
jar.
and well, and they would be a couple for the duration of the festival, or longer if the match worked out.
Like if they were like, hey, yeah,
Like they got freaky busy, and then they decided, yeah, but I like you, or
yeah, no,
no,
you're not doing it for me.
no. But it was like a freebie.
Things
Am
were
I
no,
am I
no,
I'm
yeah,
not
I mean,
incorrect
you're
that
not
that was a
incorrect. I
freebie.
mean, that like okay, they didn't take into account body counts back then. All right, people.
No,
No,
but they also weren't in the thousands either, or the 500s. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, no, I'm good. Anyway, so then wait a minute, we got distracted by this conversation. So the ancient Romans may also be responsible for the name of our modern day love holiday, because Emperor Claudius II. Okay, so this is where we were talking about earlier. He executed two people named Valentine that were religious or pious people.
yes,
But the Catholic
different
Church
years.
says, yes, different years, but in the same century, the third
Yes.
century. But the Catholic Church says three. No, motherfucker, you killed three of us, not two. But then Pope Gelasius screwed everything up when he outlawed Lupercalia, right? Lupercalia.
Yes.
Outlawed it, and then made because Lupercalia fell on the 13th to the 15th.
Right.
He made St. Valentine's Day on the 14th. So it was still, so they were Christians or good church going people.
Right.
So they put their clothes on.
Yes. So
but everything else
was
still happened.
Still a drunken reverie, but with a little bit more clothes on.
I find that hilarious. Could you imagine? Like, think about the Ren Fair XXX. Oh my goodness. All right. So here we go. So with the romanticism of it, the association with February the 14th, with love and romanticism, didn't begin with the saint, even though there are stories like with him sending the first Valentine to the either the jailer's or the judge's daughter after he cured her from blindness. But in the 14th century, it I don't know what was going on with I don't know if it's Darwinism or
Oh, the
whatever,
birds
recognizing that certain creatures,
would pair up.
well, like, okay, it's springtime. That's when all creatures pair up. But for whatever reason, in the 1400s or 14th century, they just realized that birds paired up.
Well, maybe it's just that they noticed the birds pairing up and like hadn't up until that point hadn't noticed all the other creatures pairing up. But for some reason, like, oh, there's an awful lot of birds pairing up.
Okay. So anyway, Geoffrey Chaucer, in his late 14th century poem, The Parliament of Fowls, Chaucer wrote, "For this was on St. Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh forth to choose his mate." Apparently that was really, really deep and really, really sexy back in the day.
I mean, yeah. Compared to today, yeah.
Today you probably hear something about some booty dropping to the floor and I don't know. But so that began the process of turning it or romanticizing February the 14th. Aside from Valentine supposedly marrying couples against the wishes of the emperor.
And then, of course, in the 18th century in England, the day evolved into an occasion for exchanging handwritten illustrated cards and eventually candy and flowers. Around the same time, the Normans celebrated Valentine's Day. Now, Gallatin meant lover of women. Okay. And so that was likely confused with St. Valentine's Day at some point, in part because they do sound alike. Valentine, Galentine, whatever. Lover of women. Apparently he thought he was like, Don Juan or something.
Yeah, there's not a Don Juan Day.
No.
Racist. There should be a Don Juan Day.
And then, of course,
they should rename Valentine. Oh, could you imagine the cards? If they rename Valentine's Day to Don Juan Day, oh, they'd be spicy.
They'd be so spicy.
That would be fucking awesome, actually. I might actually start celebrating Don Juan Day if they changed Valentine's Day to Don Juan Day and brought out the spicy cards. I would probably celebrate them. Just saying. Anyway.
But you're spicy enough as it is.
Yeah.
So basically, as the years went by, somehow the holiday grew sweeter. Chaucer and Shakespeare romanticized it in their works. It gained popularity throughout Britain and the rest of Europe, and handmade paper cards became the tokens du jour in the Middle Ages. Like, okay,
very good.
Like, apparently, if you had a handwritten love letter from your
sweetheart,
like that was the shit.
That was the shit.
And then, of course, eventually the tradition made its way here to the New World. And the Industrial Revolution ushered in factory made cards in the 19th century. Thank you very much, frickin' Hallmark.
Hallmark cards of Kansas City, mother loving Missouri.
In 1913, began mass producing Valentine's cards. And February has not been the same since. Thank you again very frickin' much, Hallmark. We love you.
We have no opinion on the Hallmark.
No. We have no opinion.
The celebration has moved from a solemn religious feast, albeit well, in some aspects. So okay, so one thing that my research didn't do, so it said it's a religious thing, which we've talked about. Yes. It's based on Lupercalia. It's a pagan thing. And then there was one more.
The martyrdom of blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, that's also religious.
Of the two blah blah blahs.
Yes, but that's religious. But the none of the research I did mentioned any the pagan rituals that it talked about was Lupercalia.
Okay.
So now I happen to know for a fact that you know some actual pagan rituals that went on during this time period.
Yes. So basically around this time period, in order to usher in fertility of the fields, they would pour milk and honey on the fields,
which is what they fed Zeus when he was a baby.
Yes. But also, like, if let's say a soldier made a huge contribution to a war and was promoted and given a piece of land, when he and his family moved
you were the shit,
to that piece of land.
You were the shit, by the way.
Yes, you were the shit if you got that. But also, when he and his family moved to that piece of land, he and his wife would basically have sex in the middle of the fields to promote the fertility of the land and ask the gods to bless it in front of witnesses,
which would probably explain,
including their children,
which would probably explain why it wasn't in any of the, because like my resources were like history.com, Britannica. Even though Britannica does sometimes get very descriptive with some things, but anyway, okay.
But yes, I mean, so yeah, like they weren't shy about anything back then. Like they would full on have sex in the fields in front of their kids and their servants and whatnot to invite fertility to the land.
Nice. I mean, good for them.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, the celebration has moved from a solemn religious day of feasting to largely secular and very commercialized holiday.
Yes.
Thank you with very much, De Beers. The Catholic Church has apparently, and I honestly did not look this up to verify it. I found it in two places and went with it, but the Catholic Church apparently removed Saint Valentine from the primary calendar of the church, I guess. Oh, I guess they have their own
calendar of like holidays and holy days.
In 1969.
What a year to be removed.
Due to the lack of verifiable historical details surrounding his life. Well, the death, there's lots of verifiable information about his death.
But about his life, I mean, you're talking about three different potential Valentines that they are basing this information off of. So which one is it?
But
But
right.
I mean,
So then we got Cupid.
yes.
Cupid's a big part of Valentine's Day.
He's not a baby.
No.
He's not a baby in a diaper.
And they put that is kind of weird that they did that.
That's weird. Well, I mean, consider the alternative though.
I prefer the alternative than a baby in not swaddling, but basically a cloth diaper shooting arrows at motherfuckers. That's just yeah, and an androgynous character, because it's male or female, you don't know, or they could be neither.
Okay, so you prefer the
teenage heartthrob?
Yeah.
Yes. So the original Cupid was more of a heartthrob, like we just said, than a cherub in any sense of the imagination. If you think of back to Teen Beat magazines, or what were some of the others? There was Teen Beat, there was
Tiger Beat,
there
was oh god, I used to have them all.
I am not surprised.
Well, no,
but and I'm not making fun. I am referencing them, so I am aware of them.
Teen Beat. I think one of them might have been YM, which
yes.
But
anyway, all those where they would have like the current heartthrob on their front. So that was the original Cupid. He was not a cherub.
No.
Traced back, the original Cupid has been traced back to 700 BC. A character of legend called Eros. Gee, I wonder where erotic, the word erotic, came from. Which is also the Eros is also the Greek word for desire. So again,
and he does happen to be the son of Aphrodite, the goddess of love.
Yes.
Who would play with the hearts of mortals and gods to cause mayhem.
He would, not she would.
He would. She not I mean, she probably did too.
Yeah, but not like him. He did it for fun.
Oh, he did it for shits and giggles.
If two people hated each other, he would shoot them to where they fell in love. But the thing is that the victims
would still have the underlying loathing.
They can't stand the person, but they can't help but love them. Like, even the gods feared him. Like, the gods, Zeus was afraid of this fucking little teenage little bitch.
Steroids.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite funny, but it's
funny.
Anyway, so supposedly, according to history.com, the very first or the oldest Valentine that was recorded to have been sent is from 1415. Charles, Duke of Orleans, wrote to his wife while he was a political prisoner in the Tower of London. But if you're not a political prisoner, dude, you're fucked. If you're in the Tower of London in that time period, I'm surprised I'm surprised you were able to send something out, to be honest. He wrote, and in the poem he wrote, "I am already sick of love, my very gentle Valentine." Now, we have to think about the way English was, what they meant by things back then.
In the day, if they said they were sick of something, they weren't saying that they were sick of it like we are now, like, oh my God, I am so sick of this song or whatever. No.
I'm sick with.
Or yes. I am, like, if
aching
he said
for you.
I'm already sick of love, I'm lovesick. I'm yearning for you. I'm missing you.
And then he
miss you so much, I'm sick.
Right. And then he closes it with my very gentle Valentine. And then giving flowers. Now, this is an interesting one. So apparently, in the 1700s, and I don't have the exact date, but it's Lady Montague. You can search Lady Montague. She was the wife of um, the ambassador to Turkey, I think the English ambassador, or maybe French. But apparently in Turkey, they have a custom of giving flowers for something.
She misunderstood it.
And it happened to be on
Valentine's
Day. And so she misunderstood what their tradition was and then took that back with them to Europe, and it took the frick off. Like it blew up. So yeah, and because of that, today nearly 250 million roses are grown every year
in preparation for Valentine's
just
Day.
for Valentine's Day.
That's
Just for
lot
Valentine.
of freaking roses.
That's a lot of, and unfortunately, most of them don't smell because they are bred to be beautiful.
Right.
And then you've got some that are bred to smell, but they're
Yes.
not always as perfect.
Right. But you also have, apparently there's a lot more people who are allergic to roses now.
Well, then we can just be rid of them anyway.
Which is why there are those that don't smell.
No, we can be rid of those that are allergic to rose. They can go away.
Do you remember walking into work last night and all the roses that were?
I love that smell. Like the smell. It's the strong ass freaking flowery ass fucking perfume that makes me gag. But natural flowers, I love them. I bury my face in them, except the oils would hurt the flowers, and then I would get in trouble because it would make them turn brown.
See, I don't. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I can't walk into flower shops because they just smell like pollen to me.
Well, yeah, I can see that too. So, sorry guys. So today, the holiday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, is big business.
But just like with us,
it spoiled it for many.
Yes.
According to Hallmark, you want to fish that one? That
a whopping 145 million Valentine's Day cards are exchanged every February 14th. That does not include the Valentines that kids exchange in their classrooms. So those like the packages of like 21 to 32 or whatever. It doesn't even include those. It's talking just the individual Valentine's Day cards that people go and buy for their loved one. They're like, my mom used to buy me one. She'd buy one for each of the boys.
Yep. Grandma Kane used to buy me one.
So it's just counting those. It's not counting all the ones that kids exchange in their classes.
If you counted those, Valentine's would be number one.
My goodness, yes. So, with that being said, that makes Valentine's Day the second biggest holiday for exchanging greeting cards next to Christmas. And who gets the most Valentine's Day cards each year? Teachers, which I actually kind of appreciate. I love that. I love that.
I like that a lot. Because, I mean, think about it. They got 30 freaking kids.
Right. So, and they're getting one from each kid because there's always a
teacher in every hour. Well, once they get to a certain point, it's different kids in every hour.
Yeah, but I think if I recall correctly, like after 6th grade, you're not required to do Valentine's anymore. Okay. But in the packages that they make for the kids to exchange in
there's
class,
usually a couple just for teachers.
Yes. So yeah, teachers first, and then after that it's children, because of course they're exchanging in the class, and then of course they're getting ones from their parents and siblings probably. And then mothers and wives. Now, here's my why aren't the husbands getting as many as
Husbands don't get, we're not gonna turn this into a yeah, but the husbands, that men don't get the niceties that everybody else does, typically. But anyway, so so like you said, followed by mothers and wives.
Mhm.
But I mean, the holiday has come a long way since 1913,
when
when
Hallmark
Hallmark first produced the first cards.
Valentine's Day cards.
Mhm.
Yeah. A long,
A
long,
long,
long, long
with
way.
the freaking singing, like the Star Wars don 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 don. Now that's not a well, actually, I have seen a Valentine's Day Star Wars card, but that one was actually a birthday card. But anyway, we hope you liked this episode. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Happy day after Friday the 13th. I
Yes.
love Friday the 13th. Hope you enjoyed that episode. We love you. And yeah, happy VD Day. Valentine's Day. Excuse me.
Peace out, witches. We love you. Please be safe. And we look forward to seeing you again.